Get ready to surf the future's waves of connectivity because we're diving deep into the world of 5G and beyond. This is unlocking the future. But before we start, did you know 65% of our listeners aren't following us? If you're into everything tech-related, hit that subscribe or follow button and collect our episodes on pods.media. Your support means the world. Thanks, guys. Okay, so let's unpack this whole 5G thing. It's, the fifth generation of wireless tech, right? And it's promising some seriously impressive speeds, up to like 100 times faster than 4G.
Yeah.
Think downloading a full HD movie in seconds. We're talking about a world with like virtually no lag.
It's true. The speed is a game changer. But what's really fascinating is that 5G isn't just about like faster downloads, right?
Right.
It's a fundamental shift, really, in how we connect and interact with the world.
Yeah.
Think about it like this. Remember the jump from dial-up to broadband? It wasn't just about speed. It opened up a whole new world of possibilities.
Totally.
That's what 5G is doing right now.
That's a great analogy. But here's the catch. The rollout isn't happening at the same pace everywhere.
Right.
Some areas, like major cities in South Korea, China, and parts of the U.S., are already enjoying 5G. But other areas are lagging behind, creating what some experts are calling a digital patchwork.
That's a key point. And this uneven access raises some important questions about equity. As this technology evolves, we need to ask ourselves, will everyone benefit equally? Or will certain communities and regions get left behind in this digital revolution?
That's a crucial question. So to really understand 5G's impact, we need to look beyond just the speed, right?
Yeah.
5G has like three main applications that are poised to change just about everything.
Yeah.
First up, we have enhanced mobile broadband, or EMBB. That's the super fast internet we all dream of, for streaming, gaming, and basically anything we do online.
Think about it this way. Imagine you could attend a live concert in virtual reality,
Okay.
but without any lag or glitches.
Wow.
You'd feel like you're actually there in the crowd.
Yeah.
That's the kind of experience EMBB can deliver.
Wow, that would be amazing. Okay, what's next?
Next, we have Massive Machine Type Communications, or MMTC. This is what's going to power the Internet of Things, connecting billions of devices. We're talking about smart cities where traffic lights adjust in real time to prevent congestion, homes that can basically run themselves, and even refrigerators that order groceries for you before you run out.
Hold on. A refrigerator that orders my groceries? That sounds both amazing and maybe a little creepy.
Yeah.
But okay. I'm intrigued. What's the third application?
The third application is what makes real-time, split-second responses possible. It's called Ultra-Reliable Low-Latency Communications, or URLLC. This is what will enable things like surgeons performing remote robotic surgery and self-driving cars making lightning-fast decisions to avoid accidents. We're talking about potentially life-saving technology.
Okay, now that is seriously impressive. But are there any downsides? Building something this sophisticated can't be easy.
You're right, there are some significant challenges. The first one is infrastructure. Building a 5G network is incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
And because it uses higher frequency bands, which have shorter ranges, we need many more base stations than we did for previous generations of wireless technology.
So it's not just about building new towers, it's about building a lot more of them.
Exactly. And that brings us to another challenge, spectrum allocation. Finding enough space in the radio spectrum for all these new 5G signals, while still making room for other essential services like radio and satellite communication, is a complex puzzle. And then there are concerns about potential health and privacy impacts from these higher frequency bands, which are still being studied and debated.
That makes sense. So more research is needed to ensure that 5G is deployed safely and responsibly. What other challenges are there?
Well, we also have to consider the potential for a widening digital divide. You mentioned earlier how 5G rollout is uneven. If we're not careful, 5G could exacerbate existing inequalities, with those who can afford the technology getting even further ahead, while those who can't are left behind. This could have significant social and economic consequences.
So ensuring equitable access to 5G is crucial. But, while we're still figuring out 5G, researchers are already looking ahead to what's next, 6G.
Right.
And it's going to be even more revolutionary.
Yes, 6G is being designed to be significantly faster than 5G, with speeds potentially reaching terabits per second. To put that into perspective, you could download an entire library's worth of data in the blink of an eye.
Wow. So 5G will seem like dial-up compared to 6G, but is it just about speed? What else can we expect from 6G?
Speed is just the beginning. G is about unlocking possibilities we can barely imagine today. Imagine holographic communication where you can have a 3D meeting with someone on the other side of the world as if they're right there in the room with you. Or imagine networks so sophisticated they can sense the environment, providing real-time data on everything from pollution levels to potential hazards.
That sounds incredible. But with all this innovation, doesn't it feel like there's a race going on to see who can control the future of connectivity?
You're right, the competition is heating up. Countries around the world are are vying for leadership in 6G, knowing that whoever controls the technology will have a significant economic and geopolitical advantage. This is about more than just bragging rights. It's about shaping the future of the global economy and international relations.
So the stakes are incredibly high. But what does all of this mean for our listeners?
It means we're on the cusp of a technological revolution that will fundamentally change how we live, work, and interact with the world around us. The possibilities are both exciting and daunting, and it's up to all of us to engage in this conversation and help shape this future. We've been talking about these incredible advancements in 5G and the mind-boggling potential of 6G. But let's dive into some of the technologies that are making this revolution possible.
Okay.
One of the key players is something called beamforming.
Okay, beamforming. I have to admit, that sounds a bit like something out of Star Trek.
Yeah.
What exactly is it?
Think of it like a spotlight, right, for your wireless signal.
Okay.
Instead of broadcasting in all directions, 5G base stations can focus their beams directly to your device. It's like having a dedicated laser beam sending data right to your phone. This increases signal strength and reduces interference from other devices, which translates into much faster data speeds and a more reliable connection for you.
So fewer dropped calls and buffer-free streaming, even in crowded areas. Sign me up.
Exactly. And 5G also uses something called massive MIMO, which stands for multiple input, multiple output.
Okay.
Essentially, base stations are equipped with a massive number of antennas that can send and receive data simultaneously.
So more antennas mean more data can be transmitted at once, leading to faster speeds and greater capacity. It's like having multiple lanes on the information superhighway.
That's a great way to put it. This combination of beamforming and massive MIMO allows 5G networks to handle the massive amounts of data traffic generated by countless devices all at once.
We're talking about billions of devices connected to the internet, everything from our phones and laptops to cars, appliances, and even entire factories. How can these networks handle that much data without, crashing?
That's where another clever technology comes in, network slicing. Imagine a virtual cake that can be sliced into different pieces, each with its own dedicated resources and specific characteristics tailored for different needs.
So instead of one giant network trying to be everything to everyone, you create smaller, specialized networks within it.
Precisely. Network slicing allows operators to customize network performance. A slice dedicated to autonomous driving, for example, would prioritize ultra-low latency to ensure those split-second reactions, while a slice for video streaming would be optimized for high bandwidth to deliver smooth, buffer-free video.
That's a really elegant solution. It's like having different types of lanes on the highway, some for fast cars, some for trucks, to keep everything running smoothly. This is all very impressive, but it makes me wonder, what skills will people need to thrive in this hyper-connected world? What should we be learning now to prepare for the future of work?
That's a great question. As 5G and 6G become more prevalent, technical skills in fields like data analysis, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and software development will be more and more important.
So the future belongs to the tech-savvy.
Not necessarily. While those technical skills are valuable, don't underestimate the importance of critical thinking, problem-solving, and creativity. These skills are essential for navigating any complex landscape, especially one that's evolving as rapidly as the digital world.
So it's not just about coding, it's about being adaptable and able to think outside the box.
Exactly, and that's something everyone can develop regardless of their current skill set. It's about being a lifelong learner, being curious, and being willing to adapt to new challenges.
That makes sense. Hearing about all the potential of 5G and 6G is definitely exciting, but I have to admit there's a part of me that's a little uneasy about this hyper-connected future.
I understand. It's natural to have mixed feelings when you think about the enormous changes these technologies will bring. What are your concerns?
Well, the idea of being constantly connected, of having billions of devices collecting data about our lives, our movements, our habits, it's a bit unsettling. It raises questions about privacy, security, and even what it means to be human. Are we sacrificing our privacy for the sake of convenience? Will we become too reliant on technology?
Those are very valid concerns. It's important to remember that technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us to decide how we want to use it and to set boundaries to ensure that it serves humanity, not the other way around.
So it's not about rejecting technology, but about being mindful of its potential impact and using it responsibly.
Exactly. As we move forward, we need to have open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of these technologies. We need to establish clear guidelines and regulations that protect individual rights while fostering innovation and progress. It's about finding that balance.
It sounds like we're at a crossroads. One path leads to a future where technology empowers us, improves our lives, and helps us create a better world. The other path is a bit more uncertain, maybe even a little frightening.
We have the power to choose which path we take, and it's not just about governments and corporations making those decisions. It's about each and every one of us.
That's a powerful thought. Our individual choices collectively can shape the future of technology. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the global landscape. We've mentioned competition between countries. What does this look like in practice?
The development and deployment of 5G and 6G have become a major area of geopolitical competition. Countries are vying for technological dominance, recognizing that leadership in these technologies translates to economic power and global influence.
So it's not just about building the fastest networks. It's about who sets the standards, who owns the patents, and who controls the flow of information.
You got it. We see this playing out in the race to establish 5G and 6G infrastructure, the development of international standards, and the competition for skilled workers and resources.
It sounds like a high-stakes game with long-term consequences. Who are the major players in this global race?
As we discussed earlier, South Korea, China, and the United States are currently leading the pack in 5G deployment. But other countries like Japan, Germany, and the UK are also making significant investments.
Is there a risk that this competition could lead to a more fragmented internet? Could we end up with different countries or regions operating on incompatible networks?
That's a real concern. If nations prioritize their own interests over global cooperation, we could see a splintering of the internet. Different countries might adopt different standards, protocols, and regulations, leading to incompatibility issues and hindering global communication and collaboration.
That sounds like a step backward, especially in an increasingly interconnected world. What can be done to prevent this fragmentation?
International cooperation is crucial. Governments, leaders, and researchers need to work together to establish common standards and protocols for 5G and 6G. This will ensure interoperability between networks and prevent a digital divide at an international level.
That makes sense, but in a world where national interests often clash, how realistic is it to expect this level of cooperation?
It certainly won't be easy, but I believe it's possible if we recognize that a connected world benefits everyone. We need a combination of diplomatic efforts, economic incentives, and a shared understanding that a fragmented internet would ultimately harm us all.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners who are trying to make sense of this complex landscape? What can they do to stay ahead of the curve and navigate these changes?
The most important thing is to stay informed and engaged. Develop your media literacy skills to be able to discern credible information from unreliable sources. Look for news and analysis from reputable outlets, scientific journals, and trusted experts.
So be critical thinkers, do your research, and don't just believe everything you see on social media.
Exactly. And remember, technology is not a force of nature. It's a product of human ingenuity. It's up to us to decide how we use it and to ensure that it serves humanity's best interests. We have the power to shape the future, and that starts with informed action.
Let's take a quick break here.
Okay.
We are open for partnerships. Got a cool project? We've got the spotlight you need. We're opening our doors to a limited number of newsletters and podcast sponsorships, offering an exclusive opportunity to promote your brand and connect with our passionate audience. Check out the link in our newsletter or hit us up across all socials. We got this.
All right.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've explored the technology driving 5G and 6G, the challenges of implementation, and the geopolitical forces at play. Now, let's shift gears and talk about what all of this means for our everyday lives. What are the real-world applications that will change how we live, work, and interact with the world?
That's what I find most exciting. We're talking about a world where the line between physical and digital blurs, where connectivity is so seamless it becomes almost invisible. Get ready for some truly mind-bending possibilities.
All right, I'm ready. Let's start with smart cities. I've heard this term thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean in the context of 5G and 6G?
Imagine cities that are hyper-aware, using sensors, data analytics, and AI to optimize just about everything. We're talking traffic lights that adjust in real time to reduce congestion, street lights that dim when no one's around to conserve energy, and sensors that alert authorities to potential hazards before they escalate.
So cities that can essentially think and react, making life easier and more efficient for residents. That sounds incredibly futuristic.
It is, and it's closer than you might think. We're already seeing pilot programs for smart city initiatives in many major urban centers around the world. And with the increased speed and capacity of 5G and 6G, these initiatives can really take off.
What about transportation? We've touched on self-driving cars, but how will 5G and 6G impact the way we get around?
Well, with 5G's ultra-low latency, autonomous vehicles can communicate not only with each other, but also with the infrastructure around them.
Oh, okay.
This creates a much safer and more efficient transportation ecosystem.
So picture a world with fewer accidents, smoother traffic flow, and maybe even parking that doesn't make you want to pull your hair out.
Yes, and think about the potential for reducing our carbon footprint. Optimized traffic flow means less time idling and less fuel consumption, and widespread adoption of electric autonomous vehicles powered by renewable energy could revolutionize transportation as we know it.
Okay, let's talk about healthcare. We briefly mentioned telemedicine, but I'm really curious to learn more about how 5G and 6G will transform this field.
This is an area with incredible potential. With 5G's high bandwidth and reliability, doctors can perform virtual consultations, remotely monitor patients, and even conduct surgeries from anywhere in the world.
So even if you live in a remote area with limited access to specialists, you could potentially receive the same level of care as someone living in a major city.
Exactly. This could have a profound impact on healthcare equity, especially for rural communities and underserved populations.
Yeah.
And SG is poised to take this even further. Imagine holographic consultations where you feel like the doctor is right there in the room with you, or even virtual reality simulations for training and medical education.
This all sounds incredibly promising, but what about the potential downsides?
Right.
Are there risks that we need to be aware of as these technologies become more integrated into our lives?
Of course, with any powerful technology, there are potential risks. Job displacement is a valid concern as automation increases. We need to proactively think about retraining and upskilling workers to prepare for the jobs of the future. Data privacy and security are also paramount. As our lives become more connected, we need to ensure that our data is protected and used responsibly.
So it's not just about embracing the shiny new tech, but about approaching it with a critical eye and addressing potential challenges head on.
Exactly. It's about harnessing the power of these technologies for good while mitigating the risks. Ultimately, the future is not predetermined. It's being shaped right now by the choices we make, the conversations we have, and the actions we take.
That's a powerful message. So to our listeners out there who are just starting to wrap their heads around the world of 5G and beyond, what's your advice? What can they do to prepare for this hyper-connected future?
Stay curious, embrace lifelong learning, and engage in these conversations. The future is not something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.
Well said. It's been a fascinating journey exploring the world of 5G and beyond. They've covered a lot of ground, from the technical details to the potential impacts on our lives and our planet. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking. And don't forget to subscribe and follow for more exciting explorations into the world of technology and innovation. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.